Mason Reed drifted through the abandoned alien ruins, his boots kicking up dust that had remained undisturbed for centuries. The disgraced archaeologist had come to the forgotten world of Xantara, hoping to find anything that might restore his reputation in the scientific community. His scanner hummed softly as he moved deeper into the ancient structure which stretched far below the planet's surface. The air grew colder with each step downward, while strange symbols glowed faintly on, the walls responding to his presence in ways technology could not explain. Mason wiped sweat from his brow despite the chill. Something about this place felt different from the dozens of dead worlds he had explored since his exile from Earth academia. Soft alert chimed from his wrist communicator. Maya, his ship AI, flickered to life as a small hologram above his wrist. Mason, I am detecting unusual energy readings approximately 30 meters ahead. Composition, unknown. Origin, unknown. Caution is advised. Mason grinned for the first time in months. This was exactly what he had been searching for. Something unique. Something undocumented, ignoring Maya's warnings. He quickened his pace through the narrowing corridor until it opened into a vast chamber. Unlike the rest of the ruins, this room appeared untouched by time. No dust covered its smooth metallic floor. No cracks marred the precision of its architecture. In the center, resting upon a raised platform, sat a chest mason, approached slowly, all his archaeological training screaming caution while his desperation pushed him forward. The chest was unlike anything in the known galaxy, made of a metal that seemed to absorb and reflect light. Simultaneously, its surface was covered in intricate symbols that rearranged themselves as he watched. Mason. I strongly advise against direct contact, Maya insisted. The material does not match any known element in my database, and the energy signature is growing stronger. Mason knelt before the chest, running his scanner over its surface. The readings made no sense, showing both organic and inorganic components. Something about the symbols called to him on a level beyond rational thought. His fingers traced one of the glyphs without conscious decision. The chest responded. Instantly, the symbols flowed like liquid, reorganizing themselves beneath his touch, until they formed patterns that somehow Mason understood, though he had never seen them before. A code. A key. A welcome. With trembling hands, Mason pressed the sequence that had formed in his mind. The chest hummed with energy that vibrated through the chamber. Its surface shifted, folding upon itself in impossible geometries, until it opened, revealing not treasure, but something far more precious and dangerous. Child small and delicate, she lay curled as if sleeping. Her skin had a subtle iridescent quality, shifting between pale blue and violet. Her ears extended to delicate points, and her closed eyelids seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Her chest rose and fell with gentle breathing. Mason stared in disbelief. A living being preserved somehow, in stasis perhaps. But why, and for how long? As if responding to his unspoken questions, the child's eyes opened, revealing irises of deep purple with flecks of gold. She looked directly at Mason without fear, without confusion, as if she had been waiting. Mason felt rather than heard a presence in his mind, gentle yet unmistakable, a consciousness touching his own. The sensation was not intrusive but curious, like a child reaching out to say hello. He reached toward her hesitantly, stopping just short of contact. The girl smiled, and the entire chamber brightened in response. She sat up, looking around with interest before returning her gaze to Mason. He spoke words in a language unlike any human tongue, musical and complex. Yet somehow Mason felt he almost understood. Mason, I am detecting a transmission. Maya interrupted suddenly. The chest appears to have activated some kind of beacon. The signal is powerful enough to reach deep space. The girl turned toward Maya's hologram with fascination, then looked back at Mason. She placed her small hand over her chest, then gestured to herself, Lila. The name formed in Mason's mind, though he could not explain how he knew it. Maya continued her analysis. Subject appears humanoid, but DNA scan indicates non-human origin. Preliminary analysis suggests age between 6 and 8 in human development, Life signs, stable but unusual energy patterns detected throughout. Neural pathways. Mason made his decision quickly. Whatever or whoever this child was, she was now his responsibility. He extended his hand slowly, palm up in universal greeting. The girl Lila looked at it curiously, then placed her small hand in his. A spark of energy passed between them, warm and reassuring. Mason, I am receiving reports of unidentified vessels entering the system, Maya warned. They appear to be converging on our location. The girl squeezed his hand, her expression suddenly fearful. Need to leave, Mason said, gathering the small child into his arms. She weighed almost nothing, like holding a bird. He looked down at her. Are you okay coming with me? The girl nodded, somehow understanding. She pointed upward, then made a sweeping gesture. Across the stars. Someone is coming. Mason understood, though, how he knew he could not say whether friend or enemy remained to be seen, but instinct told him to run. Across the galaxy, on a world shrouded in perpetual twilight, a tall figure stood before a massive display of stars. Her silver hair floated around her as if underwater, though she stood in normal gravity. Her violet eyes widened as a signal long awaited. Finally appeared Commander Valerie. She had called herself when necessary, though. Her true name had been spoken aloud in millennia. The last guardian of a royal bloodline believed extinct. A low rumble shook the chamber as a massive form moved from shadow. Her companion Ember stretched wings of midnight scales, interwoven with technology beyond human comprehension. The dragon creature regarded the star map with intelligence far beyond any animal. The signal pulses strong. Valerie said, her voice melodic. We have found her. After all this time, the last child of the royal house. Ember lowered her massive head, allowing Valerie to place a hand on her scaled snout. Their mental bond shared thoughts without words. They will hunt her too. Valerie continued. The same ones who destroyed our world. The ones who hide among humans, manipulating them against us. The dragon growled softly in agreement. Valerie turned her gaze toward the distant signal. Then we must reach her first, before they realize what she truly is, before they learn what she can become. The hunt had begun. Mason piloted his small ship, the Wanderer, through the asteroid field, his hands steady despite the danger. The child Lila sat strapped in the co-pilot seat, her strange purple eyes watching his every move with unusual intelligence. 3 days had passed since their escape from Zantara, and Mason was beginning to understand that Lila was far more than she appeared. The child barely slept or ate, yet showed no signs of weakness. More concerning were the incidents that defied explanation: objects floating when she focused on them, ship systems activating without touch, lights flickering in patterns that matched her emotions, and most unsettling, the dreams Mason experienced since bringing her aboard. Dreams of stars he had never seen, and a civilization of beings with pointed ears and ancient wisdom. Maya displayed the navigation chart on the main screen. Hegemony patrols have increased in this sector. She reported, 3 military cruisers have changed course to intercept this region. They are searching for something or someone. Mason thought, glancing at Lila, who was now tracing patterns in the air with her finger, leaving trails of soft light that vanished seconds later. Maya continued her analysis. I have completed my study of the data from the chest. The symbols match no known language, yet contain mathematical patterns suggesting advanced communication. The metal composition includes elements not on the periodic table. Lila suddenly stood, pointing at a small sector of space near the outer rim. Her eyes glowed slightly as she touched the holographic display. The ship computer responded instantly, adjusting course without Mason initiating commands. Mason stared in amazement. How are you doing that? The girl smiled, and images flooded Mason's mind. A safe place. A colony hidden from prying eyes. A friend. New Appalachia. Mason whispered, recognizing the mining colony from the images. How did you know about that place? Before he could process this development, Maya interrupted. Priority alert. Hegemony transmission detected. Admiral Sophia Grant has issued a galaxy-wide bulletin regarding a dangerous anomaly believed to be aboard a vessel matching our description. The alert classifies the anomaly as a potential threat to human civilization. Capture authorized by any means necessary. Maya displayed the image attached to the alert. A grainy security footage still from Xantara, showing Mason carrying Lila to his ship. They had been monitored the entire time. Mason swore under his breath as he accelerated the ship toward the rim colonies. The hegemony controlled most of civilized space, their military presence extending to all major worlds. But the outer colonies like New Appalachia operated with more independence. Their loyalty to credits often outweighed their loyalty to central authority. He had one advantage. The Wanderer was small, unremarkable, and outfitted with modifications not entirely legal. Mason had spent years avoiding attention. Necessary skill for a disgraced archaeologist seeking redemption. Lila touched his arm, her small face serious. She pointed to the stars, then to herself, then made a cutting motion across her throat. The meaning was clear. They want to kill me, how? Do you know that? Mason asked, though he was becoming accustomed to her inexplicable knowledge. She tapped her temple, then pointed to the ship communications array. Something about the transmissions. She understood them somehow. Maya interrupted his thoughts. Unusual energy signature detected pursuing vessel approximately 3 light minutes behind us. Configuration unknown. Not hegemony design. Mason pulled up the rear sensors. A sleek vessel unlike any he had seen before followed their trajectory. Its hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, making it nearly invisible to standard sensors. "We have another problem," Mason muttered. Lila pressed her face to the viewport, her expression changing from fear to something like recognition, even hope. She pointed to the mysterious ship and nodded vigorously. Friend, Mason asked skeptically. The girl shook her head, then shrugged in a very human gesture of uncertainty. Not enemy, but not friend. Yet Maya continued monitoring both threats. The unknown vessel is gaining speed. Admiral Grant's flagship, the Justicar, has changed course to intercept our position. They will reach the New Appalachia system approximately 6 hours after our arrival. Mason pushed the engines beyond safe parameters. They would reach New Appalachia with minimal time to spare. His old friend, Dr. Olivia Brooks, maintained a research facility in the crystal caves beneath the main settlement. If anyone could help understand what Lila was, it would be Olivia. The journey. Past intense silence, Lila slept fitfully while Mason planned their approach. He would need to land without using official channels, avoid the colony security systems, and reach Olivia's facility undetected. When they entered the New Appalachia atmosphere, Mason employed every evasive technique he knew. The mining colony spread below them, a patchwork of industrial complexes and worker housing built into the side of a massive mountain. Mason landed the Wanderer in an abandoned mining shaft, covering the ship with a camouflage tarp. He gathered minimal supplies and a weapon, then helped Lila into a hooded cloak to hide her distinctive features. They emerged into the perpetual twilight of the colony, where dust from the mines blocked much of the sun's light. They moved through back alleys and maintenance tunnels Mason had visited enough times to know the blind spots in the security system. After an hour of careful navigation, they reached a nondescript door hidden behind waste processing units. Mason entered a complex code and pressed his palm to the scanner. The door slid open, revealing a worried-looking woman with short gray hair and sharp eyes. Dr. Olivia Brooks regarded them with obvious concern. "Mason," she hissed, pulling them inside. "What have you gotten yourself into this time? The entire system is buzzing with alerts about you." Her eyes fell on Lila, who had pushed back her hood, revealing her delicate features and pointed ears. Olivia's expression changed from annoyance to wonder. "By all the stars," she whispered, kneeling to look more closely at the child. "Is this an Elvenari?" Olivia finished, her voice filled with awe. "I thought they were extinct. Wiped out in the purge." She reached out her hand, stopping just short of touching Lila. The texts were true. They really existed. Mason felt a chill run through him. "Elvenari. What are you talking about?" Dr. Olivia stood, her eyes never leaving Lila. They were protectors of younger species, including early humans before their apparent extinction centuries ago. This child, she gestured with trembling hands, is not just an alien Mason, she is a living legend. Beyond the colony in the darkness of space, two ships approached on converging courses, each seeking the same prize, each with very different intentions. Dr. Olivia led Mason and Lila deeper into the hidden research facility. The walls lined with ancient artifacts and texts collected over decades of secret study. Holographic displays showed star charts and evolutionary timelines connecting various species across the galaxy. Mason watched as Lila moved through the space-touching artifacts with recognition. Her small fingers traced symbols identical to those on the chest. Eyes wide with what could only be described as remembering, the texts speak of the Elvenari as guardians, Olivia explained, activating a display showing tall, elegant humanoids with pointed ears and iridescent skin. They possessed abilities beyond our understanding. Telepathy, energy manipulation, accelerated healing. Some texts suggest they could even perceive possible futures. Mason frowned. So if they were so powerful, what happened to them? Olivia dimmed the lights, bringing up a new display. The Great Purge. Approximately 5 centuries ago, every Elvenari world was systematically destroyed. Their colonies wiped out. Most believed it was a natural disaster, a series of supernovae. But my research suggests it was deliberate. Lila suddenly whimpered, pointing to the display, her small body trembling. Mason knelt beside her instinctively. Protective, she remembers, Olivia whispered. But how the purge was centuries ago. A genetic memory, perhaps, Mason suggested. Or stasis. The chest could have preserved. Olivia shook her head. Something more complex. I think the Elvenari were said to exist, partially outside normal space-time. Their consciousness operated differently. Lila may carry memories that span generations. A soft alarm sounded from the security console. Olivia moved quickly to check the display. Her expression grim. Hegemony ships have entered orbit, Admiral Grant's flagship among them. They are implementing colony-wide security protocols, mandatory bioscan of all residents. The official reason is terrorist threats. Mason knew better. They were looking for Lila. We need to move, Olivia continued. The facility has shielding that can mask Lila's energy signature temporarily, but a direct scan would detect her. We have a hidden exit through the crystal caves. Meanwhile, in the upper levels of the colony, a slender figure moved through the crowded marketplace, her features concealed by a hooded cloak. Yet even hidden, there was something unnaturally graceful about her movements. Valerie had infiltrated human settlements many times over the centuries, a necessary skill for the last guardian of the Elvenari bloodline. Her violet eyes scanned each face, each building, each security measure. While humans believed elves to be creatures of fantasy, the Elvenari had visited Earth millennia ago, their presence giving rise to legends before they retreated to the stars as humanity began its own technological advancement. Valerie sensed the child was close, her telepathic abilities detecting faint traces of Elvenari consciousness. But something else troubled her. The hegemony presence was unusually strong, their ships circling overhead like predators. Through their psychic bond, Ember communicated from the cloaked ship orbiting the far side of the moon. The void-born influence grows stronger. Their puppets search with desperation. They know what the child represents. Valerie acknowledged silently. The hope of resurrection for their people. The key to awakening the dormant defense network that once protected the younger races, and the greatest threat to the void-born who had fed on galactic conflict for millennia. Hegemony soldiers began appearing on street corners, their armor gleaming in the dim light of the colony. Scanner devices in hand, they began systematic checks of all residents. Valerie melted into shadows, avoiding detection. Her enhanced senses picked up fragments of communication. Admiral Grant wants the anomaly alive. Priority Alpha. Shoot the man if necessary. Valerie quickened her pace. They were closing in. Deep in the crystal caves, Mason, Lila, and Olivia hurried through tunnels that glowed with bioluminescent fungi. The caves extended for miles beneath the colony, providing a natural labyrinth. Olivia led confidently, checking her handheld navigator occasionally. Lila suddenly stopped, her head tilting as if listening to something beyond human perception. She pointed urgently toward a side tunnel. Trust her, Mason urged, following. As Lila changed their course, the child seemed drawn to something. The narrow tunnel opened into a vast cavern. Massive crystals stretched from floor to ceiling, capturing and amplifying the dim light. Mason gasped at the beauty, but Lila was already moving forward toward the center, where a pool of clear water reflected the crystal light overhead. The distant sound of engines grew louder. They found us, Olivia whispered. The caves must be surrounded. Lila stood by the pool, her hands extended over the water, surface rippling in response. Her eyes glowed with increasing intensity. Mason moved to her side, unsure whether to stop her or protect her. The water in the pool began to swirl, forming a vortex of energy and light. Lila looked up at Mason, a sad smile on her small face. She knows something. Mason realized. She planned this. Before he could react, the cavern ceiling exploded inward. Hegemony soldiers rappelled down through the opening, their weapons trained on the small group. Admiral Sophia Grant descended last. Her uniform pristine, her expression cold. Surrender the anomaly, Grant commanded. No one needs to die today. Mason stood protectively before Lila, while Olivia raised her hands in apparent surrender. The water in the pool erupted skyward as the night air rushed into the cavern. A terrifying screech echoed through the space. A massive form descended through the opening. Wings of midnight scales extended, blocking out the stars above Ember. The dragon companion plasma fire glowed in her throat, illuminating razor teeth and ancient eyes filled with intelligence. Hegemony soldiers fired wildly in panic, their weapons having minimal effect on the dragon's armored hide. Ember moved with impossible speed for something so large, her tail sweeping soldiers aside, her wings creating gusts that disrupted their formation. In the chaos, a slender figure dropped from the dragon's back, landing with inhuman grace between Mason and the remaining soldiers. Valerie uncoiled from her landing stance, silver hair flowing as if underwater. Her advanced weapons making short work of the human technology. Admiral Grant took aim at the newcomer but hesitated, recognition dawning. They exist. The legends. Valerie moved faster than human eyes could track, disarming Grant with a single motion. The Admiral fell back, shock evident on her face. Mason stood his ground, placing himself between the elf woman and Lila. To his surprise, Lila ran forward, embracing Valerie, communicating in their shared musical language. Valerie knelt, returning the embrace before looking up at Mason with ancient eyes. You protected her when no one else could, she said, her voice melodic despite the gravity of her words. For that you have my gratitude. But you must now know the truth. The hegemony is not what you believe. Humans have been manipulated for centuries. The ruling council controlled by entities we call the Voidborn, ancient enemies of all living things. They feed on conflict, destruction. They exterminated the Elvenari to remove our protection from younger species, including yours. Mason looked from Valerie to Lila to the massive dragon now perched protectively at the cavern entrance. What happens now? He asked. War. Valerie answered simply. Deep within the abandoned crystal mines, the unlikely alliance established their hidden base. Mason and Olivia worked alongside Valerie, converting the ancient mining equipment into defensive systems, while Lila explored the caverns with childlike wonder. Despite the circumstances, the small group found themselves forming bonds of necessity and growing trust. Admiral Grant sat bound, but treated with respect, her expression alternating between disbelief and grim understanding, as Valerie explained. The true history of human expansion. The Voidborn have existed since before recorded history. Valerie explained, her silver hair reflecting the blue light of the crystals. They feed on conflict, fear, destruction. They cannot exist in physical form without a host. Instead, they influence, manipulate, corrupt. Those in power become their puppets, often unaware they are being controlled. Olivia examined data on her tablet. The ancient texts mentioned shadow beings that whispered madness to kings. Is that what? We face Valerie nodded. The Elvenari were guardians against their influence. We maintained balance, protected younger species as they developed. We visited Earth many times in your early history. Those visits inspired your myths about elves and fae, folk, but the Voidborn grew stronger, orchestrating conflicts between species, Mason added. Beginning to understand. When the Elvenari were nearly wiped out, humanity expanded rapidly, becoming more warlike, more divided, a genetic legacy, Valerie said, watching Lila, who was communicating telepathically with Ember. The massive dragon had taken an unexpected interest in the human archaeologist, recognizing his genuine care for the Elvenari child. The dragon now allowed Mason to approach without the suspicion she showed toward others. Humans were once considered potential successors to the Elvenari. Valerie continued, showing ancient star charts. Your adaptability, creativity, resilience. These qualities made your species promising guardians. The Voidborn recognized this threat and worked to corrupt your natural development through centuries of manipulation. Mason watched as Lila practiced with small energy fields under Valerie's guidance. The child learned quickly, her abilities growing stronger each day. What makes Lila so special? Why was she hidden? Valerie hesitated, her ancient eyes showing rare vulnerability. She is the last of the royal bloodline, the direct descendant of our highest lineage. Her genetic code carries access to technologies and powers beyond even most Elvenari understanding. She was hidden as our final hope. Admiral Grant, who had been silently listening, laughed bitterly. So that's why the hegemony wants her. The Voidborn sense a threat to their control. Exactly. Valerie confirmed a threat and an opportunity. They believe they can use her abilities to expand their influence beyond this galaxy. Olivia worked tirelessly translating ancient Elvenari knowledge stored in crystals Valerie had provided. The texts spoke of defense networks that once spanned the galaxy, protecting developing worlds from Voidborn influence. The system had been deactivated during the Purge, but could potentially be restarted with the proper genetic key. A's days passed. Ember formed an increasingly strong bond with Mason. The dragon often sharing watch duties with the human, her massive form curled protectively near the entrance while Mason took readings of approaching ships. Why me? Mason asked the dragon one night, not expecting an answer but needing to voice his confusion. I was just a disgraced archaeologist looking for redemption. Ember turned her ancient eyes toward him, then pressed her snout gently against his chest over his heart. Mason felt a flood of impressions, not words exactly, but concepts. Guardian potential recognition. Kindred spirit. Nothing is coincidence, Valerie said, appearing silently behind him. Ember's kind were created by the Elvenari as guardians. They sensed those with similar purpose. The fact that you found Lila, that you protected her without understanding her importance, that suggests your path was meant to cross with ours. Mason wanted to dismiss such talk of destiny, but he had seen too much in recent days to hold on to pure skepticism. Their fragile sanctuary was shattered 1 week later, when sensors detected multiple ships entering the atmosphere. Hegemony forces had returned in greater numbers. They tracked the energy signature from our escape. Valerie stated, checking weapons systems. Olivia's security measures were good but not perfect against such technology. The first explosions rocked the cavern system, dust and crystal shards raining down as specialized hegemony forces breached their perimeter. Mason grabbed Lila, while Valerie coordinated with Ember through their telepathic bond. Get the child to the secondary location, Valerie commanded Mason. Olivia and I will delay them. Mason hesitated, unwilling to leave them behind. Olivia pressed a data crystal into his hand. Take this. Everything we translated about the defense network, Lila will know what to do with it. When the time comes, before Mason could protest, Ember wrapped her massive wings around him, and Lila creating a protective barrier as another explosion shook the cavern. The dragon's scales deflected debris as she guided them toward a narrow escape tunnel. Mason looked back one last time, seeing Valerie and Olivia preparing defensive positions. Admiral Grant watching with conflicted loyalty. The battle echoed, through the tunnels as Mason and Lila followed Ember through the labyrinthine escape route, eventually emerging in a secluded valley where Valeria's ship waited sleek and otherworldly. Hours passed with no sign of the others. Mason paced anxiously, while Lila sat in meditation communing with energies beyond human perception. Ember stood guard. Her senses extended far beyond the valley. A single figure emerged from the forest. Valerie, her silver hair matted with blood, her expression grim. "They have Olivia," she announced. The hegemony retreated once they captured her. Grant went with them willingly. I believe she intends to manipulate the situation. From within, Mason felt cold dread. What do they want with Olivia information? Valerie said simply, "They tortured her before I could intervene." She revealed partial information about Lila's significance. Her blood carries the key to reactivating the ancient Elvenari defense network. Lila's small hand slipped into Mason's. She looked up at him with ancient eyes in a child's face. Images formed in his mind. A sanctuary world, hidden from all but those with Elvenari blood. A place where survivors might still exist. We must go there. Valerie confirmed, reading Lila's thoughts. The sanctuary world may hold the resources we need to fight back. But reaching it requires crossing hegemony space and activating a dormant stargate. The situation had become desperate. The entire hegemony would hunt them now. Knowing what Lila represented. A threat to the Voidborn control, a hope for freedom. We have no choice, Mason said, looking down at the child who had changed his life forever. We fight. Valeria's ship sliced through hyperspace, its ancient technology far beyond human engineering. Mason watched the stars blur past while Lila slept fitfully nearby. The small Elvenari child growing stronger, yet increasingly troubled as they approached their destination. Her dreams, shared telepathically with both Mason and Valerie, showed fragmented visions of the sanctuary world and something darker, something waiting. Their plan was desperate, perhaps even foolish: cross-hegemony space rescue. Olivia, from the flagship, activate the dormant stargate and escape to the hidden Elvenari world. A mission with little chance of success, yet failure meant extinction for the Elvenari legacy and continued Voidborn domination. Valerie stood beside Mason, her silver hair floating in the ship's artificial gravity field. Your connection with Lila grows stronger, she observed. Each day you understand more of her thoughts without translation. Mason nodded, unable to explain the bond that had formed. Something about the child called to him on a level beyond rational thought. Valerie studied him with ancient eyes. There is a reason the chest responded to you. A reason you understood the symbols. The Elvenari visited Earth many times over thousands of years. Some remained longer than others. What are you saying? Mason asked, though he sensed the answer forming. That certain humans carry fragments of Elvenari DNA dormant, mostly but present. Her violet eyes held his gaze. Your archaeological intuition, your ability to find sites others overlooked. These were not coincidences. Mason absorbed this revelation, thinking of his lifelong fascination with ancient civilizations, his inexplicable dreams of stars beyond human exploration, the immediate connection he felt with Lila. Ember growled softly from her position at the ship's controls, the massive dragon somehow fitting comfortably in the Elvenari vessel. Her thoughts reached them both. We approach hegemony space. Prepare for stealth protocols. The ship shimmered, becoming nearly invisible as its cloaking technology engaged. Valerie moved to the command center, her hands dancing across controls that responded to her touch as much as her thoughts. We have one advantage, Valerie said. The Voidborn believe. All full Elvenari extinct. They do not expect our technology. Our methods. They will be looking for a human ship with stolen technology. The massive hegemony flagship. Dominance hung in space. A city-sized vessel surrounded by destroyer escorts, its gleaming hull bristling with weapon systems. According to the information Admiral Grant had secretly transmitted, Dr. Olivia was being held in the scientific research wing. Her knowledge of the Elvenari defense network, making her too valuable to execute. Valerie guided their invisible ship through the hegemony's defensive grid with precision born of centuries of practice. They docked in an unused maintenance bay, the ship's camouflage extending to create the illusion of an empty berth. Mason checked his weapons gear. Valerie had provided advanced technology beyond human design. Weapons that targeted void-born energy specifically. Energy shields that deflected standard hegemony weapons. Lila insisted on joining them despite their concerns. Wearing protective gear scaled to her small size, she looked like a warrior from ancient legend. Her abilities had grown exponentially in recent days, enabling her to manipulate energy fields, create illusions, and communicate telepathically. With increasing range, Ember would remain with the ship, maintaining their escape route and creating a diversion when needed. The dragon could not move through the ship's corridors, but her telepathic link with Valerie would keep them connected. They moved through the flagship like ghosts, Valeria's knowledge of ship design and Lila's ability to sense nearby mines allowing them to avoid patrols. Mason marveled at the efficiency of their movement, each step purposeful, each decision seemingly predetermined. In the research wing, they located the high-security chamber where Olivia was held. 2 guards stood watch outside while automated defense systems scanned the corridor. Valerie looked to Lila, who nodded confidently. The child closed her eyes, concentrating. The security systems flickered momentarily, showing false readings. The guards looked at each other, confused by alarms that activated and deactivated without apparent cause. Mason moved swiftly in the distraction, neutralizing both guards with stun weapons. Valerie overrode the door controls with technology that interfaced seamlessly with the hegemony systems. Olivia looked up as they entered, her face showing signs of rough interrogation, but her eyes bright with defiance. "They know," she said. Without preamble, the Supreme Commander has been fully possessed by a void-born entity. They extracted enough information to understand what Lila represents. As if summoned by her words, alarms blared throughout the ship. Security protocols activating. In cascading sequences, Valerie checked her tactical display. "We have been betrayed," she stated. "Admiral Grant led them to us. She never intended to help." Mason felt anger rise, but Lila touched his hand, shaking her head. Images formed in his mind, showing Admiral Grant struggling against dark shadows within her own consciousness, the void-born influence growing stronger. Fighting, but failing. "They need to reach the command center," Olivia explained hurriedly. "The Supreme Commander plans to extract Lila's genetic material to access the defense network for themselves. They believe they can corrupt it, repurpose it to extend void-born influence. Their escape route cut off." The small group moved deeper into the flagship, Valerie leading with uncanny precision. Her combat abilities beyond human possibility as she neutralized opposition with elegant efficiency. While Mason had initially questioned her ruthlessness, he now understood the stakes were beyond individual lives. The future of multiple species hung in balance. When they reached the central command deck, they found Admiral Grant waiting, her uniform immaculate, her expression torn between duty and awakening horror. "You were right," she admitted to Valerie. "I can feel them now. The whispers, the suggestions. I thought they were my own thoughts, my own ambitions." She looked at Lila with new understanding. "Kill me now, I am compromised." Before Valerie could respond, the inner doors opened, revealing the Supreme Commander, his eyes glowing with unnatural darkness, his movements jerky as if his body were a puppet controlled by unseen strings. The void-born entity spoke through him, its voice layering inhuman tones over human speech. "The last Elvenari child. How convenient you brought her directly. To us, void-born guards surrounded them, weapons ready." The entity continued mockingly. "And the last guardian as well, though you hide your true nature. Guardian is such an insufficient title for what you really are, isn't it?" Mason looked at Valerie with sudden realization. Not merely a guardian, but royalty herself. The Voidborn laughed. "You never told your human pet. You never revealed that you are the last Elvenari queen, the one who sacrificed her throne to search for the lost heir." Valerie stood, taller, her regal nature impossible to hide any longer. "It changes nothing," she replied. "My duty remains." The battle erupted with blinding speed. Energy weapons, fire blending with Elvenari abilities. Mason fought alongside Valerie, protecting Olivia and Lila. The conflict spilled across the command deck systems, exploding around them. Admiral Grant suddenly turned on the Voidborn guards. Her decision made. She would die free rather than live enslaved. In the chaos, Valerie reached Lila, creating a protective circle around them both, her voice carrying over the battle. The time has come, little one. We must awaken what sleeps. Valerie channeled her remaining power through Lila, creating a psychic beacon that resonated across space. Lila amplified, yet her small form glowing with ancient energy. Their combined consciousness reaching out, touching dormant Elvenari DNA in thousands of humans across the galaxy. Mason felt it first. A burning awakening. Recognition of something that had always been inside him. His archaeological intuition suddenly explained the pieces of himself that never quite fit into human society. Outside the flagship, Ember engaged the hegemony fleet. Her impossible maneuvers and advanced weapons creating the diversion they needed through their renewed telepathic connection. Mason understood everything. The sanctuary world, the surviving Elvenari, the defense network that could expel the Voidborn from the galaxy. They fought their way to the emergency shuttles. Valerie, Mason, Lila, and Olivia boarding one while Admiral Grant provided covering fire, sacrificing herself for a future she would never see. The shuttle escaped the flagship as Ember rejoined them, guiding them toward the ancient stargate dormant for centuries. The massive structure orbited a dying star forgotten by all but those with Elvenari memory. Lila stood at the shuttle's viewport, her small hands pressed against the glass. Her consciousness joined with Valerius, awakening the gate, its massive rings beginning to rotate, energy building within them. As the portal opened, revealing the path to the hidden Elvenari world, Valerie turned to Mason with new respect. Perhaps the future of both our kinds lies not in separation, but alliance. A new guardian, force combining Elvenari wisdom with human determination. Behind them across human space, others with dormant Elvenari heritage began to awaken, setting the stage for the greater war to come.